Just a quick point on carbohydrates versus fat. It's not really versus because as you will see on the graph that I will put right now on the screen, hey everyone, and welcome back on the channel to yet another episode of the Advent Calendar. Today we are discussing all things carbohydrates for endurance sports, should it be running, cycling, triathlon, duathlon. Stay here and stay tuned because at the end of the video you can win a full box of Precision Fuel, Precision Hydration's energy gels. One of you will get a box of 30 gels, I think. This is not sponsored, this is me giving away a box of gels. These are the gels that I really like to use for my own training and racing. I have a video on gels, it's the Mega Gel review, you can go check it here, upper right hand corner if you missed it. And I think it's a good video to watch after or before this one. Let's begin with a quick disclaimer. In this video, I will use mostly stuff that has been published in scientific reviews, in scientific studies, or that I have experienced myself or my athletes have experienced. Nothing in this video is supposed to sound right or wrong, and if you do stuff differently from what I recommend or what science suggests, it's also interesting and it's also valid just because it works for you. We're all different and it's very important just to fine-tune your nutrition so that it works for you and your needs. In this video, I'm just trying to cover the 101 of carbohydrates and nutrition for endurance athletes. Let's begin with some very interesting examples, those at least that I'm using here for this video. Eliud Kipchoge, Breaking 2, and the Ineos 159 Challenge. We're looking at 100 grams per hour of carbohydrates. And Gustav Iden, Norwegian triathlete, Ironman 70.3 world champion twice. He used 110 grams of carbohydrates per hour at Daytona, Challenge Daytona last year, which was a smaller 70.3 course, an event that lasted about 3.5 hours. So quite interesting here. And this does not take into account swimming, where Gustav didn't use any carbohydrates. So the average would basically be even higher should we only account for cycling and running in this event. Very high numbers, and this is very contradictory with the old theory of 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour. There is a reason for that theory of 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour, and that comes down to the very famous 2-to-1 ratio glucose-fructose. Basically, your body has some limits in terms of the transported proteins it can create to assimilate the glucose and the fructose. The name of the two proteins, for glucose it's SGLT1 and for fructose it's GLUT5. Those two protein transporters, your body cannot produce more than a certain amount of them, and that corresponds to an ingestion of 60 grams of glucose and 30 grams of fructose per hour, so 90 grams in total. And so that's why there is a big theory around 90 grams per hour, a recommendation for endurance athletes for that number. And we will look at different studies that suggest that you can go even higher, like Eliud Kipchoge and Gustav Iden did. Now, carbohydrates, where are they stored in your body? You have some of them, about 400 calories in your liver and about 2000 calories in your muscles. That represents around 17 to 20 miles of running, 2 hours of cycling. That is at higher intensities, 60% and more of your VO2 max. That's also the reason why many people face the wall in the marathon after, let's say, 30 kilometers, 20 miles roughly, because that's the moment where their carbohydrates, glycogen stores are empty. That's for the storage. Now, very quickly, comparing those storage of carbohydrates accounting for roughly 2,500 calories, and fat in your body, you have around 45,000 kilocalories of fat. So it's, carbohydrates represent a very small amount of energy compared to fat. And 1 gram of fat has more calories in it compared to 1 gram of carbohydrates. That's something to keep in mind, and we'll discuss why you should still train your fat burning capacity despite going for a higher number of carbs per hour. So despite having that theoretical number of 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour, recently some studies show that you can go way higher than that, 100, 120, 140 grams per hour of carbohydrates. You perform better, your muscle recovery is better with higher number. That study was dedicated to ultra running in the mountains, so something where muscle damage is quite high. And that study showed that with a higher carbohydrate intake, your muscle damage was lower. At least for those athletes that performed the study, there was a group with 60 grams per hour, 90 grams per hour, and 120, and the group with 120 performed the best and had the best muscle tissue recovery. So that's really interesting. So now when you confront the theoretical limit of 90 grams per hour with those studies, you actually understand that it's all about trainability and how people manage to train their body to a higher carbohydrates intake. Basically, the protein transporters, like everything in your body, it's trainable. You can train those transporters to allow for a higher carbohydrates intake, which is really fascinating. And if you do that, you actually get more energy for those higher intensities, longer races, which is very interesting. As you may know, for my last major race, the Duathlon World Championships, I went for 120 grams per hour, and it worked really well because for 3 months before that, I tested, I tried 100, 120, 150 even, and I fine-tuned my strategy, which is what I encourage you to do. Try, fail, and at the end get your specific strategy for your sport. Should it be only running, cycling, duathlon, triathlon, different needs for the different sports, different forms of carbohydrates that you may be interested in taking, fluids, gels, chews, whatever you prefer and whatever your body accepts. That's very important. Just a quick point on carbohydrates versus fat. It's not really versus, because as you will see on the graph that I will put right now on the screen, carbohydrates are used by your body simultaneously to fats, and at some point you have that point where fats are really high. So the point in your metabolism at which you use the highest amount of carbs, and then it suddenly drops and carbohydrates kick in, and you need more and more carbohydrates with higher intensities. That's also why there's no need to get 15 gels for easy jogs. But that's also the reason why you cannot rely only on fats for higher intensities. Fat burning mechanism is something that you can train, and you can use more fats at higher intensities if you train that, but still at some point carbohydrates will take over and you will need to replace them by ingesting external sources of carbohydrates. Many questions will come after this video, I'm sure. Let me know in the comments any question you may have, and I will do a follow-up video or a dedicated live stream with that. Maybe we can have a guest expert on a live stream, in a video. Let's see. This is a fascinating topic, and again, something where there is no right or wrong answer. It's not black or white. Many different methods, many different approaches. So I'm also looking forward to hear from you. If you're interested in winning a box of Precision Hydration gels, the gels that I am fueling with, just go in the description. There is a link to a form where you can just put your email address, and I will select someone to win a box of 30 gels. I hope you enjoyed this video of the Advent calendar. I hope you enjoyed this topic. Enjoy your run today, enjoy your ride, fuel well, go beyond your limits, and I'll see you tomorrow for the last video of the Advent calendar. Bye bye.